So here's my hiring process and all that. So what you do is you make sure that one, you have a job post. Make sure you have a good description, make sure you label out the salary in there, all that stuff. Now what's really important is that you want to make sure the first thing is that they can follow fucking instructions. Okay, if they can't follow the first step of following instructions, they shouldn't even make it to the interview and waste your time. So what you should do is tell them, hey, send your resume to this specific email and CC this person. If they don't send the resume and CC the person, then they did not follow instructions correctly. You also see how they presented the email. Does it look copy and paste? Does it look like they actually reviewed the job description? Okay, you want to make sure you're really looking for these small things. Do they have an email signature? Like, it's really important because it shows how committed they are to their actual own personal, brand, or just their brand in general, and like how committed they are, and how how much they want it. So really, after that point, you ask them, hey, send a video on why you would be a good fit for this position at this company. They send the video, and you're looking for how long the video is. Are they recording on their phone? Do they have good English? Do they look like they're reading off a script, a teleprompter? Do they articulate their thoughts well? Like, this allows you to be able to see how they would communicate roughly within the workspace, and also what communicating like them would be like. So before you getting on an interview with them, which takes scheduling, which takes time, showing up to the meeting, and then if you find out they're a bad candidate, now you wasted both of your time. So that's why I really like intro Loom videos. And if they don't know how to use a Loom, use Loom. If you don't know how to use Loom, even if you've never used it before, if you're asking me what a Loom is, I'm not going to take you as far as the job goes, okay? That's an automatic rejection. Let's say they make it past the Loom intro part. Next part is scheduling the thing. So throughout this whole process, we're seeing how easy is it to communicate with them? Are they responding quickly? Are they responding, is it taking fucking days to get back a response? Are they you gotta look out for all these things, because if you don't have your standards set high at the hiring, position, these problems will come later down the road, and it's gonna bite you in the ass. Like, I promise you, you have to make sure that your hiring process and your interviewing process is so fucking robust, because a bad hire is so much more expensive than a good hire. A good hire may be more expensive as far as paid per hour, but I'm telling you, if you take the bad hire and you do it too quickly, it's gonna waste a ton of money, time, and energy. So you want to make sure, really, if you're, especially your first position, because a bad hire can make you go bankrupt. I'm not even joking. They could lead you down the wrong path. They could do the wrong things for you. And this is what I learned from hiring over a dozen virtual assistants offshore. Offshore assistants don't really know how to think for themselves. A lot of times you need to make sure that at a certain point, it's nice to have, offshore employees, but at a point you really have to make sure that you have an onshore, more creative thinking manager for those, assistants. So you really have to make sure you have someone who can guide them and pull the ship forward, because these guys, all they know how to do is row the boat. They don't know where the fuck to go. So you gotta guide them towards south, and if they're heading a little east, you gotta guide it back south. So it's really important that if you have a team of VAs, that you start thinking about onshore. I only figured out this now, was why would people hire onshore? It's so much more expensive, and they're so much more lazier. Now, yes, that is the case for a lot of times. However, if you hire the right onshore people, when I say onshore, just America, and offshore is third world, or just anywhere other than America. But yeah, so onshore would be you have to really find someone that is able to lead and is able to creatively think and solve problems. That's really the most two important roles as far as onshore employees, which is why that's my hypothesis. So that's that as far as hiring goes. So just wrapping this all together, making sure your hiring process and your interviewing process is so start hiring out from a month from now. Start thinking about really predicting, okay, from a month from now, I'm gonna need this position. you strategically plan like, okay, from a month from now, so now that gives you a month of space to be able to find that absolute rock star. And you really want to be, again, really cherry picking this. Do not rush this. I made this huge mistake. Do not rush the hiring process. You really want to make sure that you really spend time finding someone good, okay? You really want to, it's like a needle in a haystack, but when you find someone good, I promise you, it will pay for all your labor. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. So if you're looking for someone, if you're hiring right now for your business, you really want to make sure that you do not rush that process. You want to make sure the interview process, the hiring process is so robust, okay? Really want to make sure that is just so robust. And just, again, just to wrap this all together, intro post, okay? Like job posts, you can post in Facebook groups, depending on where you're hiring, Upwork, Indeed, and then, what was it, onlinejobs.ph. Go to these sites and make your post, and then tell them to have very specific instructions, like maybe like title the email you send me so and so for this position. If they do it in a different format, then automatically reject them. Like, be very nitpicky about this stuff. Like, be very nitpicky. Now, the only exceptions I would say is if they really threw out the park with their resume, then I would say, yeah, send an intro video, but very few times they will. So you have to make sure that first thing to check is if they can fucking follow the instructions. Next step is making sure that they're a likely person that you would like and be, wanting to talk to for this position. And hiring an assistant is a completely different story, because that one I would spend even more time on, because the problem with that is, like, when you do if you do end up finding the wrong person, offboarding them, it becomes very risky and very, very time consuming. It really is not a good spot to be in, to offboard assistants. You really want to make sure that if you're hiring a personal assistant or executive assistant, you make sure that you're really intentional about it, that you make sure that you really spend time finding someone that is the opposite of you, not the same as you, the opposite of you. And why I say that is, like, if you're an executioner, you want someone that's a planner, right? Someone that is analysis. So, like, because you need someone who's a planner. You need that, because you can have a warrior, but if you've ever played fucking games before, video games, you don't want two warriors. You want a warrior and a fucking medic. Like in for example, Clash of Clans. You don't want two fucking barbarian kings. You want a barbarian king and a fucking Grand Warden. You want the fucking support. Like, the Grand Warden, won't do as much damage as the barbarian, but the Grand Warden charges up the barbarian for doing more, enables the barbarian to do more. And the Grand Warden is kind of just like the home base. I'm keeping the base down, but you're out there getting food for me. Terrible analogy, but I'm saying, like, you want someone, especially for an assistant position, like really for an assistant position, you want to make sure they're really the opposite of you. They're the opposite personality of you. And I'm not saying, like, get someone who you wouldn't like. Obviously get someone you would like, because you're gonna want to. If you don't want to talk to your assistant, do not, like, if you get on the second interview with them, and definitely have the second interview. If you go on the second interview with them and you don't look forward to the second interview, don't even take the interview. Just say, cancel. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking this. Unfortunately, you don't work. Yeah, not like that, but like, just decline. If you're looking forward to the second interview and you're actually excited to talk to them, then that's a good sign. I'm not saying you hire them. I'm saying that's a good sign. But if you're hiring an executive assistant, personal assistant, if you're going to hire a personal assistant, here's when I'll hire. I would hire a personal assistant. You could start off with like a virtual assistant in Manila, Philippines for like $6-8 an hour. I would start, getting a personal assistant to do just some admin tasks at, 10, not 10, maybe 10, 20, 30K a month, 20K to, 20 to 30K a month. I would say get a personal assistant, and then 50K to 100K, I would say executive assistant time range. It really depends on the business model and personal situations, but I think 500K plus is where you get chief of staff. $1 million a month, I think, is where is the chief of staff. But again, it really depends on your business scenario. It depends on your scenario, but it goes like this: a runner, an administrative assistant / personal assistant, executive assistant, and then chief of staff. That's how the order goes. That's how the pyramid goes.